The 19th century was a period of the formation of nations in all Latin America, and Mexico also had that exact purpose. The Porfiriato started having some concrete goals: create a nation, create a national style, a Mexican architecture, create a national literature, art, and education. By the 20th century, Mexico already had, as well as many other countries, telephone, gramophone, bicycles, automobile, electricity, water pipes, cinema, and flying balloons, as Joaquin de la Cantoya's balloon. The culture in Mexico was Frenchified. That was a style that Porfirio Diaz wanted to institute as Mexican. Fashion would come from France. Many states also had French-style buildings. Even Gustave Eiffel came to Mexico and built the Iron Palace in Orizaba, Veracruz, an Art Nouveau building. French was the language to learn. Diaz's principal objective was to promote economic development by encouraging the introduction of foreign capital. By 1910, United States investment in Mexico amounted to more than $1.5 billion. Foreign investment financed some 50,000 miles, 24,000 kilometers of railroads. Industries, especially textiles, also developed, and he gave a new impetus to mining, especially silver and copper. Moreover, after 1900, Mexico became one of the world's leading oil producers. Gold Mexican coins were a common currency in France. Somewhere on the way, he lost track. Despite the impressive achievements of the dictatorship, popular discontent began to accumulate, leading ultimately to revolution. This resultant upheaval was partly a peasant and labor movement because the benefits of the Diaz regime mainly went to the upper and middle classes. The differences between them and the poor were appalling. Diaz continued the reform policy of breaking up the ejido, the communally held land under the traditional Indian and land tenure system, but did not adequately protect the indigenous from being deprived of their holdings by fraud and intimidation. As a result, 5,000 indigenous communities, which had held the land since before the Spanish conquest, were confiscated, and their inhabitants mostly became laborers on the haciendas. Even though more than 2/3 of the total population was engaged in agriculture, Mexico had to import food during the later years of the Diaz regime. Meanwhile, business people and members of the Mexican middle class began to feel that these had allowed foreigners to acquire too much economic power and privileges. Resentment was directed primarily against the United States and British companies who were owners of what had become the country's most valuable resource, oil. In the autumn of 1910, Francisco Madero, an idealistic liberal from an upper-class family, initiated a revolutionary movement. Don't miss our next history video, The Revolution. Loving Mexico thanks you for being with us today. Be sure to subscribe and leave a comment. Continue watching our videos and enjoy loving Mexico.